Welcome to the Dibley Diaries for this week. This week we're thinking about the passage in Matthew 6 where Jesus talks about the birds of the air and the lilies of the field, and about how each person is so much more valuable than them. And I've really been thinking about it this week and wanted to just ask, if you live in a village, who is the most important person in your village? We've talked about this before, and I am unapologetically talking about it again because it's really important. Who is the most important person who lives in your village? Is it the person who lives in the manor house? Is it the person who lives in the big house if that isn't the manor house? Is it the richest person in the village? Is it the person who has been in the village the longest? Is it the vicar? I can say almost certainly now that everybody in the village will not think that the vicar is the most important person in the village. Maybe 2 centuries ago they did, but they don't now. Who is the most important person in the village? And we have to say as a church that everybody is the most important person in the village. Everybody is the most important person in the village. And this is not some, everybody wins the egg and spoon race thing. It's actually really important theologically because we are equal before God, and that's a really important thing for us to say. And if you are wondering whether this really makes a difference or not, it does. It's really important for us to be modelling that one person in the village is not more important than another person in the village. Imagine this scenario. Somebody in the village gives a large donation to something in the work of the church. They then ask you to do something which is a tiny bit against church law, just a little bit. Not much. Are you going to do it because that person is an important person in the village? Will there be people lobbying for that person because, they've given so much to the village or they've given so much to the church? Actually, we need to treat everybody of equal value. Everybody needs to be treated equally. Otherwise we end up with a non-theological church basis and all these difficult decisions to make where we are biased by who these people are in the village. We need to treat everyone equally. We all need to be the most important person in the village. This week on Thought for the Week, we're thinking about the passage from Matthew 6 where Jesus is talking about the birds of the air and the flowers of the field. So he starts off by talking about the birds and about how God even feeds the birds, even though they're considered not very valuable. So how much more will he look after you who are so valuable to him? Then he talks about the flowers. He said the flowers are magnificent even though they don't last very long. And how much more will God look after you? How much more will he clothe you who are worth so much to him? And basically Jesus is talking about how valuable we are to God. And I've had 2 phrases stuck in my head preparing for this week. One is, a fool is someone who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. A fool is someone who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And then the other thing which I've been really thinking about this week is a little thing that happens in Doctor Who quite a long time ago, Matt Smith era. Matt Smith's Doctor is being shown around somewhere by someone important, one of the important people, and he asks who a particular other person is, and the important person says, "Oh, they're no one important. They're nobody important." And the Doctor says, "Blimey, in 900 years of space and time, I've not met anyone who wasn't important before." And that's really what Jesus is saying here. We're all important to God. We're all important to God, and we should find that reassuring. However, a lot of the work that I've done with people over the past 20 years has been with people who have been told that they weren't valuable to God. They've been told, oh, you're too disabled to be any use in the church, to help out, or you're not really bright enough to do this helping out in the church, or the thing that you've done, the particular thing that you've done, whatever it was, means that God can't love you anymore. A bit of me wants to go, lies, lies, lies. But what we need to do is work with people, and these people are often people who are quite anxious people. So I'm not saying we should all instantaneously realise that God values us and then all our anxieties will fall away. That's not how it's going to work for people. People are anxious. They need help. They need help. They might need therapy to work on these issues that they've had. They may need all sorts of things to deal with their anxiety. Sometimes they might just need a practical help, and that is part of the church community's responsibility for those with us. If people are practically anxious, we should work with that. If they need something practical, then we should help. And if they need therapy or support, we should support them whilst they have that, if people are really suffering from anxiety. But part of our job, a really important part of our job in the church community when dealing with this, is to help everybody remember that we are all valuable to God. We are all valuable to God. We need to do that. We need to work on that. We need to support people who are anxious. We need to relieve some of their practical issues that they might be anxious about. But we also need to work every day to remind them that they are valuable to us and they are valuable to God. For the Dibley moment for this week, I was just thinking about birds and some issues that we have with birds. One year we'd not been shutting the doors, which are kind of metal mesh, properly, one of our church buildings, and so some swallows came in. It was fortunately a place where we had two entrances, and whilst the swallows built their nest and raised their chicks and pooed a lot on the floor of that bit of the porch, we all went in and out of the other door. Was it worth it? Well, the birds did hatch and fly away, so yeah, probably it was. That's it for the Dibley Diaries for this week. I pray that you and your village, however large or small, have a really blessed week where you can all know that God values you.